Princess Leora sat quietly on the edge of her throne, her small feet barely reaching the marble floor. The grand hall of the Elvian Empire sparkled with crystal chandeliers and gold carvings that told stories of power, victories, and honor. Alien nobles in long flowing robes whispered to each other, their many eyes glinting with judgment. They glanced at her occasionally, their expressions filled with mild amusement, but no one really saw her. She had always been the smallest princess, the youngest daughter of King Orvan, and the court seemed to agree that she was of little importance. Leora tugged nervously at the hem of her silver dress, her heart pounding. She had watched her elder siblings parade in front of the nobles, each movement precise, each gesture a statement of strength. They had been praised, chosen, or at least admired by the high-ranking guests. But today, Leora knew it would be different. She was small, quiet, and often clumsy compared to her sisters. She did not shine in battle training or in the arts of diplomacy, and the nobles had made no secret that they considered her weak. The grand doors of the hall opened with a deep echo, and the ceremony began. The hall filled with alien lords, ambassadors from faraway worlds, and other dignitaries. Their eyes scanned the royal family, seeking alliances and potential partners. Leora felt herself shrink further into her seat. The nobles whispered, pointed, and sometimes laughed softly. She kept her gaze lowered, wishing she could disappear into the intricate floor patterns of the hall. Princess Elira, her older sister, moved forward gracefully, her posture perfect. She smiled at the nobles, bowing with elegance. Many of the dignitaries stepped forward, offering words of admiration, gifts, or contracts. Elira responded with practiced poise, her voice clear and commanding. Then came Princess Serena, tall and proud, with long golden hair flowing down her back. She too received attention as nobles commented on her beauty, her strength, and her wisdom. Then the moment came for Leora. She stood slowly, her hands trembling slightly. Her small frame made her appear fragile next to her sisters. She tried to straighten her back, tried to imagine the confidence that Elira and Serena carried naturally. But no matter how she tried, she could feel the judgmental eyes of the court resting on her like a weight. The whispers began, soft at first, then louder. She is so small. Barely even a princess, one noble said. Does she even know how to hold a sword? Another whispered with a snicker. Leora's cheeks burned. She felt a mix of fear, sadness, and frustration. She had practiced her manners, her bowing, her greetings, yet it seemed invisible. She had always been overlooked. She knew this would happen, yet a tiny part of her still hoped that someone might notice her. As she moved forward, her dress brushing softly against the floor, the nobles did not step toward her. They did not offer words of praise, contracts, or invitations. She heard the low hum of conversation around her, punctuated by occasional laughter at her expense. She lowered her gaze, but then something caught her attention. A figure standing apart from the crowd, tall and different, with sharp human features unlike the aliens surrounding her. Captain Elias Ward of Earth's United Interstellar Fleet stood calmly, his dark hair neat and uniform crisp. Unlike the others, he did not whisper, laugh, or judge. His gaze was steady, focused on her in a way that made her feel seen for the first time in her life. She felt a small spark of hope flicker inside her chest. When the ceremony continued, and the other nobles stepped forward to choose alliances or partners from the royal family, the pattern repeated. They praised her sisters, offered words and gifts, and then, when it was Leora's turn, they did nothing. They looked elsewhere, dismissed her with a wave of their hands, or whispered behind their fans. Leora's small hands clenched at her sides, trying to steady her trembling body. She expected to be ignored, yet when Elias stepped forward, the room fell silent. No one had expected a human to attend this ceremony, let alone make a move. His voice, calm but firm, echoed in the hall. "I choose Princess Leora," he said. The court froze. Alien nobles blinked, some dropping their glasses or letting their hands fall from gestures of mockery. The king, Leora's father, leaned forward, surprised. "You choose her?" he asked cautiously, almost as if he feared misunderstanding. "Yes," Elias said. "She has the strength I value. She has the heart I respect. I ask for her as my partner and ally." Whispers erupted like a storm. The nobles muttered angrily, some laughing, some clearly outraged. "Humans are foolish," one shouted. "She is small and weak, how can you choose her?" Elias remained calm, his eyes still on Leora. He did not back down. "Humans see worth differently," he replied simply. "It is not about size, power, or rank. It is about spirit." Leora felt her heart leap. No one had ever spoken about her like this before. No one had ever said that her quietness, her thoughtfulness, or her resilience had value. She looked at Elias and saw not mockery or pity, but understanding. For the first time, she felt that she truly mattered. The king's advisors whispered quickly to one another, some frowning in disapproval, others curious. But the rules of the empire were clear. No law was broken if an envoy chose a princess. And so, despite the murmurs and stares, the decision stood. Leora was chosen. As the ceremony concluded, the nobles filed out, leaving a tense silence behind. Leora remained in her small corner of the hall, processing the turn of events. She had been ignored all her life, yet now, a human, someone from a distant strange world, had seen her worth. Elias extended his hand gently. "Come with me," he said, his tone kind. Leora hesitated for a moment, glancing at her father. King Orvan gave a small, uncertain nod. "Go. This is unusual but allowed," he said. She took Elias's hand, feeling the warmth of his grip. It was steady, reassuring. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement, but mostly she felt hope. The journey ahead would be unknown, but for the first time, she felt she was not invisible. As she left the hall, the nobles' whispers faded, behind her. For the first time, Leora realized that being small or overlooked did not mean she was powerless. Sometimes it took someone from another world to show her that her spirit mattered more than appearances or rank. The human ship awaited her, sleek and unlike anything in the alien empire. Its engines hummed softly, a promise of adventure and change. Leora looked back at the grand hall one last time, then turned forward. With Elias at her side, she stepped onto the ship, feeling a new strength within herself. And in that moment, the small princess, long ignored and underestimated, took her first step into a larger universe, a universe where humans measured worth differently, where courage and heart mattered above all. A universe where she could finally be seen, not as weak, but as someone capable of great things. The stars outside glittered, endless and full of promise. Leora felt her fears melt into determination. She would learn, she would grow, and perhaps she would show the galaxy that even the smallest princess could shine brighter than anyone had imagined. This was only the beginning. Princess Leora stepped onto the human ship, her small hands gripping the railing as she took in her new surroundings. The interior was unlike anything she had ever seen. Smooth, metallic walls reflected soft light, and panels glowed with information she could not yet understand. The hum of the engines vibrated under her feet. The humans moved with purpose and calm, their gestures confident but relaxed, and most importantly, they treated each other with respect. No one bowed or whispered insults. No one laughed behind another's back. Captain Elias Ward stood beside her, watching her carefully. His dark eyes held a warmth that made Leora feel safe, even in this strange new environment. "Don't worry," Elias said, noticing her wide-eyed gaze. "You will learn. It is different here, but it is not dangerous." Leora nodded, though her stomach still twisted with nervousness. She had spent her life in the shadow of alien nobles who judged by appearances and power. She had never been treated as an equal before. Here the humans seemed to value something else entirely, something she hoped she could become. As the ship hummed through the stars, Elias led Leora to her quarters. The room was simple but comfortable. A soft bed, a small desk, and a window that showed the endless black of space dotted with stars. Leora felt a sense of awe. She had never imagined seeing the stars from this angle, far beyond the planets she had known. "This is your room," Elias said. "You will stay here while we travel. You can rest or observe the ship. Tomorrow we will begin your lessons." "Lessons?" Leora asked, curiosity mixing with apprehension. "Yes," Elias replied. "I will teach you how humans work, how we live and fight, how we care for each other. There is much to learn, but you are not here to fail, you are here to grow." Leora sat on the bed, feeling the weight of his words. She had been overlooked for so long, dismissed as weak and unworthy. Yet here was a human, someone from a world so far away, telling her that she could grow and that her spirit mattered. For the first time, Leora felt hope bloom inside her chest. The next morning, Leora woke early. The hum of the engines had become a soft rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. She dressed in simple clothes provided by the crew, functional and light, nothing like the heavy gowns of the alien court. She followed Elias to the training room, a large space filled with equipment she could barely recognize. "Do not be afraid. To try," Elias said gently. "Humans learn by doing. You will make mistakes, and that is okay. Courage is not about being perfect. It is about trying." Leora nodded and stepped forward. The first exercises were simple: lifting small weights, moving with balance, coordinating steps. She struggled at first. Her small hands could barely grip the tools, and her movements were awkward. But Elias never scolded her. He guided her patiently, correcting gently and praising when she did well. "You see?" Elias said after she completed a sequence. "You are improving already. That is progress." For the first time, Leora realized that her value was not determined by others' opinions. It was measured by effort, heart, and growth. The thought was liberating. Days passed and Leora grew stronger. She learned to operate simple devices on the ship, to understand the panels and readouts, and even to handle small weapons used in training simulations. She was still small and quiet, but she began to feel capable. The human crew treated her as one of their own, not as a fragile princess, and she began to believe in herself. One afternoon, the ship received a distress signal. A small cargo vessel was under attack by space raiders, and its crew was in danger. Leora watched as the humans sprang into action, their teamwork precise and confident. Elias noticed her hesitation and nodded. "Do you want to help?" he asked. Leora hesitated. I do not know if I can." "You can," Elias said firmly. "Humans act, even when afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act anyway." Leora took a deep breath and followed him. She assisted with the shield controls, learning quickly under Elias's guidance. Her small hands worked with surprising speed and accuracy. Together, they helped protect the cargo vessel from the raiders. Though she had never been praised in the alien court, the human crew clapped her on the back, smiled, and thanked her. "You did well," Elias said, his voice warm. "You were brave when it mattered. That is what counts." For the first time, Leora felt proud of herself. She had helped, not because of rank or expectation, but because she wanted to. She was no longer the ignored princess. She was part of something greater, and she was capable. As the days passed, Leora also learned about human culture. She marveled at their way of treating each other with respect, their emphasis on fairness and trust. They valued courage, kindness, and effort above all else. Leora began to understand that humans survived in a dangerous universe, not because of size or power, but because of their heart and determination. Back in the alien empire, the nobles whispered, in their corridors. "Why would a human choose her?" one asked. "She is small, weak, and unimportant." "They do not understand humans," another said. "They value foolish things. We must watch this closely." Leora did not know of these whispers. She was too busy growing, learning, and experiencing life in ways she had never imagined. She began to enjoy conversations with the human crew, learning their languages, their ways of thinking, and their sense of humor. She laughed for the first time without fear of judgment. Elias watched her quietly, proud. He had chosen her because he saw something others did not: her heart, her resilience, her ability to remain calm in the face of fear. He had seen in her a rare strength that alien nobles, blinded by pride and tradition, had failed to notice. One evening, as the stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's windows, Leora sat beside Elias on the observation deck. "Do you really think I can do all this?" she asked softly, looking at the sparkling lights of distant stars. "I do," Elias replied. "I chose you because I saw strength where others saw weakness. You are small, yes, but strength is not measured by size. It is measured by heart. You have a heart that will carry you far." Leora felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had always believed she was unworthy, invisible, and powerless, but Elias's words began to sink in. Perhaps being small did not mean she was weak. Perhaps she could shine in ways the alien nobles would never understand. The following days brought more challenges. Leora learned navigation, teamwork, and leadership skills. She participated in simulations, worked alongside the crew, and discovered that her mind, careful and thoughtful, could be just as valuable as strength or skill. She began to see herself as someone who mattered, not because anyone told her, but because she had proven it to herself. Humans treated failure differently. Mistakes were not shameful. They were opportunities to learn. Leora remembered how the nobles had mocked her for every misstep in court. Here, she was encouraged to try again. She discovered joy in learning, courage in action, and pride in small achievements. One morning, during a routine drill, the ship detected a nearby asteroid field. While the crew adjusted navigation, Leora noticed a minor technical issue in one of the ship's shields. Without hesitation, she pointed it out, helping prevent potential damage. The crew thanked her. Elias gave a small nod of approval, and Leora felt a surge of confidence. For the first time, she realized that value was not determined by appearances, size, or approval. True worth came from action, courage, and heart. Humans, in their way, had taught her a lesson alien nobles could never understand. That night, Leora lay in her quarters, staring at the stars outside her window. She felt a quiet determination growing within her. She had been ignored, overlooked, and underestimated her entire life. But now, chosen by a human, she had a chance to discover who she truly was. No alien noble could mock her here. No one could say she was weak. For the first time, she believed in herself. And as the stars twinkled endlessly outside, Leora understood one simple truth. Sometimes, it takes someone from another world to show you your true worth. This was only the beginning of her journey, and Leora felt ready to face the challenges ahead, to grow stronger, braver, and wiser than anyone could have imagined. She was no longer a small, ignored princess. She was someone capable of greatness, chosen not for her rank or looks, but for her heart. The human ship glided silently through the dark expanse of space, stars streaking past like silver sparks. Princess Leora stood on the observation deck, her small hands pressed against the railing, feeling the gentle hum of the engines beneath her. She had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the ship and to the humans around her, whose patience and kindness had begun to feel like a home she never knew she needed. Captain Elias Ward approached her quietly, noticing the way her eyes lingered on the distant stars. "Thinking about home?" he asked, his voice soft but steady. Leora shook her head. "Not really home. More like what I could be." She turned to him, a small smile forming on her lips. "I never thought anyone would see me for who I really am." "You have been seen now," Elias said simply. "Humans value heart and spirit. You are learning that your strength is more than size or appearances. It is courage, patience, and care." Leora felt a warmth bloom inside her. For the first time, she felt that her life was hers to shape, not just a role defined by alien nobles. who had ignored her all her life. Over the next few days, Leora joined the crew in various tasks aboard the ship. She learned how to repair small devices, navigate sections of the ship, and even coordinate simple operations during training drills. The humans treated her as an equal, asking for her opinions, trusting her judgment. Each task she completed gave her a quiet confidence she had never experienced before. But it was not just the technical skills that she learned. She also observed how humans treated each other. They encouraged and corrected with patience. They shared meals, stories, and laughter without hierarchy. When someone failed, they were not ridiculed. They were helped. Leora realized that this was something alien nobles could never understand. They measured worth by power, wealth, and status, while humans measured it by effort, heart, and spirit. One afternoon, the ship received a distress signal from a small cargo vessel caught near a field of asteroid debris. The human crew quickly mobilized, running drills they had practiced many times before. Leora's heart raced. This was the first real challenge she would face outside training. "Do you want to come?" Elias asked, his eyes meeting hers. I think I can help," Leora replied, her voice small but firm. Elias nodded. "Then you will. Stay calm and follow instructions." As the ship approached the cargo vessel, Leora saw the chaos. Asteroids moved unpredictably and the small ship's shields were failing. The human crew worked quickly, coordinating maneuvers and adjusting defenses. Leora moved to the shield console as instructed, trying to steady her trembling hands. Her small fingers pressed buttons and toggles, following the procedures Elias had taught her. "Good. Keep monitoring the energy flow," Elias instructed, standing beside her. "Adjust here. Yes, that's it." A large asteroid suddenly struck, near the cargo vessel, sending alarms blaring. Leora's heart pounded, but she remembered Elias's words. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite it. She adjusted the shields, rerouted energy, and watched as the human crew protected the cargo vessel with precise coordination. When the crisis passed, the crew erupted in applause, some patting her back, some nodding with genuine respect. Leora felt her chest swell with pride. She had acted when it mattered, and she had been useful, not because of rank or expectation, but because of her courage and determination. Elias smiled at her. "You did well. You stayed calm and acted wisely. That is what counts." Leora's mind swirled with the realization. In her life with alien nobles, she had been small, ignored, and underestimated. Here, she had proven that even a small princess could be brave and capable. She had earned respect not through titles or appearances, but through her actions. In the following weeks, Leora continued to grow alongside the human crew. She learned about their culture, their values, and the way they faced challenges together. She began to speak more confidently, contribute ideas, and even lead small teams during simulations. Her quiet, thoughtful nature became a strength rather than a weakness. One evening, during a moment of calm in the ship's common room, Leora sat with the crew listening to stories of human adventures, hardships, and triumphs. She laughed at their jokes, shared her own experiences from the alien court, and felt a connection she had never known. "You have changed," one crew member said quietly, smiling at her. "At first you seemed unsure, but now you are strong, in your own way." Leora felt warmth rise to her cheeks. She had never been praised like this. Humans did not compare her to others. They celebrated her for who she was. That feeling, being seen, being valued, was unlike anything she had experienced in the alien empire. Meanwhile, back on the alien homeworld, nobles whispered and plotted. "The human is foolish," one said. "Why would he choose her? She is weak and small. He will fail." "They do not understand humans," another replied. "They value foolish things, things we cannot see. We must watch this closely." Unaware of these whispers, Leora focused on learning, growing, and proving her worth. She began to notice subtle changes in herself. Her movements were more confident, her decisions sharper, her courage steadier. She was becoming someone who could act without fear of judgment, who could stand tall even when others ignored or underestimated her. One day, the ship encountered a new challenge. A region of space filled with rogue drones threatened the nearby shipping lanes. The human crew prepared for action, organizing strategies to disable the drones without unnecessary damage. Leora felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She was ready to act again, to show that she could contribute in real situations. Elias turned to her. "Do you want to lead a small team for this operation?" Leora hesitated. Leading humans, that was unimaginable. But then she remembered the lessons she had learned. Courage, effort, and heart mattered more than size or fear. She nodded. I will try." The operation began. Leora directed a small group of humans, guiding them to intercept rogue drones and protect nearby ships. Her calm demeanor helped the team stay focused under pressure. She used strategies she had learned from watching the humans, combining observation, patience, and quick thinking. When the drones were finally neutralized, the crew cheered, not just for the victory but for Leora's leadership. Even Elias nodded with pride. Leora realized something remarkable. She had earned respect through action, not through appearances or titles. That night, she returned to her quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. She sat by the window, staring at the stars. She thought of the alien nobles who had ignored her, laughed at her, and dismissed her entire life. And she thought of Elias, the human who had chosen her when no one else would. A smile formed on her lips. She understood now that being chosen by a human had changed everything. She had discovered her strength, her courage, and her worth. She was no longer the small, ignored princess. She was someone capable, respected, and growing stronger every day. And most importantly, she had formed a bond, one that crossed worlds, species, and expectations. Elias had seen what others could not. Her heart, her spirit, and her potential. That bond gave her confidence, courage, and a sense of belonging she had never known. In the weeks that followed, Leora continued to prove herself in small but significant ways. She participated in simulations, handled technical challenges, and learned to lead without fear. Every success, every small act of courage strengthened her belief in herself. She realized that true strength was not about size, beauty, or rank. It was about spirit, determination, and the willingness to act even when others doubted you. And with each passing day, Leora's bond with Elias and the human crew deepened. She learned to trust them, to rely on their guidance, and to find courage within herself. She felt a sense of purpose growing inside her, a desire to face challenges, to protect those in need, and to prove that even a small, overlooked princess could rise above expectations. One evening, Elias approached her as she watched the stars, quiet and thoughtful. "You are ready," he said simply. Leora turned to him, unsure. "Ready for what?" "Ready to face greater challenges," he replied. "The universe is vast and dangerous. There will be tests, and you will need courage and wisdom. But I believe in you. Humans do not measure worth by size or rank, we measure by heart. And you, Leora, have a heart that can carry you far." Leora felt a surge of determination. She had grown so much already, yet she knew this was only the beginning. She had faced fear, acted with courage, and earned respect. She had discovered her worth, and she would continue to grow stronger, braver, and wiser. As the stars stretched endlessly before her, Leora understood one undeniable truth. Being chosen by a human was not just a matter of luck. It was a recognition of her heart, a chance to discover her true potential, and the beginning of a journey that would take her far beyond what she had ever imagined. For the first time, she felt proud of who she was, not because others had chosen her, but because she had proven to herself that she could rise above doubt, fear, and neglect. She was no longer the ignored princess. She was someone who could shine, lead, and inspire. And with that thought, Leora smiled, ready for whatever challenges the universe would place in her path. The interstellar council hall loomed large, its walls gleaming with alien metals and holographic projections. Delegates from countless star systems gathered here, their forms and colors as varied as the cosmos itself. Alien nobles whispered behind, fans and gestures, their eyes flicking toward Princess Leora with thinly veiled disdain. To them, she was still the small, quiet princess they had ignored. She felt their judgment as sharply as if it had been spoken aloud. Captain Elias Ward stood beside her, calm and composed as always. He did not flinch under the noble's scrutiny. "Remember," he whispered, "your worth is not measured by their opinions. It is measured by your heart and courage. Act as yourself." Leora nodded, drawing in a deep breath. She had learned much since leaving her homeworld: skills, confidence, and the knowledge that humans saw value where others saw weakness. But she also knew that this council would be a true test, a stage where her courage and abilities would be challenged in front of the galaxy. The session began. Alien nobles spoke with pride, showing off their fleets, technology, and influence. They sneered at humans and the idea of a small princess standing beside a human captain. Some muttered loudly, calling her the Forgotten One or the Weak Child. Leora kept her gaze forward, remembering Elias's words. She was not here to please them. She was here to act with courage. Suddenly, alarms blared through the hall. The council station shook violently as a cosmic storm, far stronger than any predicted, struck the outer shields. Energy fields flickered and failed. Panic rippled through the delegates. Some of the alien nobles shouted orders, but their fear made them ineffective. Their pride, which had always guided them, now made them hesitate, and chaos spread. Elias did not move in panic. He turned to Leora. "Now is the time to act. We must help evacuate delegates and stabilize the station. Your training will help. Trust yourself." Leora's heart raced, but she nodded. She stepped forward to the control panels, her small hands steadying as she accessed the station's auxiliary systems. She recalled everything she had learned from the human crew, reading the panels, coordinating energy flow, directing others. The alien nobles had always mocked her attention to detail, but now it became her greatest strength. Delegates were trapped in various sections of the hall. Leora guided humans and even some alien assistants through corridors, instructing them how to reach safety. "Stay calm," she called out, her voice firm and steady. "Follow my instructions and you will be safe." Some aliens scoffed at her, doubting that a small princess could organize anything. But as they saw her calmness and precise instructions, they hesitated less and followed her guidance. Step by step, she led groups of delegates to secure zones, navigating through failing lights and trembling floors. Meanwhile, Elias coordinated larger systems, adjusting shields and power reroutes, often looking to Leora to implement his commands on auxiliary panels. Together they formed a team, human and princess, facing a crisis with courage, intelligence, and calm determination. An alien noble whose pride had always been his guide approached, trying to take command. "Step aside, girl. You do not belong here," he shouted. Leora did not flinch. Her voice rang clear. "Step back. Follow instructions or you will endanger yourself. This is how we survive." The noble hesitated, seeing the determination in her eyes and the organized calm she projected. Slowly, he stepped back, realizing that the small princess was leading effectively. The storm's intensity increased. Systems failed, lights flickered, and alarms screamed. Leora's small hands moved quickly across panels, adjusting energy flows, rerouting power, and coordinating evacuation efforts. Each decision, each instruction carried weight. She felt the fear, but she did not let it control her. She acted, she guided, she protected. Delegates who had once ignored her, whispered insults, or laughed at her small frame, now followed her directions without question. Her calm leadership shone in the chaos. Some even looked at her with surprise and newfound respect. Elias stayed close, encouraging her. "Good. Keep guiding them. Trust your instincts." Leora's confidence surged. She realized that this was her moment, not to be noticed, not to gain praise, but to show courage, wisdom, and heart. She acted not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed as they navigated the worst of the storm. Finally, the station stabilized. Shields hummed steadily, lights returned, and delegates were safely gathered in secure zones. The storm weakened and eventually passed. Silence fell across the hall, broken only by exhausted breaths and murmurs of disbelief. The council gazed at the small princess who had orchestrated the evacuation, saved countless lives, and maintained order when their pride and arrogance had failed. Alien nobles whispered among themselves, shock and grudging respect in their voices. How did she? One stammered. King Orvin, Leora's father, stepped forward, his eyes wide. He looked at his daughter, then at Elias. I had no idea, he said softly. Elias smiled slightly. You see, humans do not measure worth by appearances, size, or rank. We measure by heart. Princess Leora has courage and wisdom that surpassed your expectations. Leora felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. She had acted bravely, not for recognition, but because it was necessary, and in doing so, she had earned something she had never had before. Respect that came from actions, not titles. Delegates approached her cautiously, offering nods, gestures of gratitude, and small smiles. The alien nobles, who had once ignored her, now looked on silently, unable to deny her courage. Some even stepped forward to offer their respect, their whispers of mockery replaced by admiration. Leora looked around the hall, taking in the scene. She realized that being small or overlooked did not mean she was powerless. She could act, lead, and protect. She had learned that courage, wisdom, and heart mattered far more than appearances or status. Elias stood beside her, pride evident in his eyes. You see, he said softly, you have shown what true strength is. The universe recognizes it now. Leora nodded, feeling a new sense of self. She had been chosen when no one else believed in her, and she had proven that choice was not a mistake. The small princess, once ignored and underestimated, had become a symbol of courage and hope. The council session concluded with quiet murmurs. Delegates discussed the actions of the human-led team, noting how Princess Leora had maintained calm, given clear instructions, and saved lives. Even the most arrogant nobles could not deny her contributions. Back in her quarters that evening, Leora sat by the window, staring at the stars. The hum of the ship felt comforting now. She had faced a storm that could have overwhelmed anyone, and she had risen to the challenge. She realized that her journey with humans was teaching her far more than she could have imagined: how to trust herself, how to act with courage, and how to lead when others faltered. She thought of the alien nobles who had dismissed her all her life. They had measured her worth by appearances, size, and rank, but none of that mattered. What mattered was heart, courage, and action. And she had proven, both to herself and to the galaxy, that she possessed all three. Elias approached quietly, standing beside her. You were extraordinary today, he said. I only did what needed to be done, Leora replied, her voice small but steady. And that is what makes it extraordinary, Elias said. You acted with courage, leadership, and heart. That is true strength. Leora smiled. She understood now that being chosen by a human had not only given her opportunity, but had revealed who she truly was. She was no longer the small, ignored princess. She was a leader, capable of courage, action, and wisdom. She had proven that true worth was not given, it was shown. As the stars stretched endlessly before her, Leora felt a quiet determination. The universe was vast, filled with challenges, dangers, and opportunities. She would face them all, armed with courage, heart, and the knowledge that she had already overcome the greatest obstacle of all, being underestimated. The small princess, once ignored by alien nobles, had been tested by the stars, and she had, emerged stronger, braver, and more capable than anyone could have imagined. And for the first time in her life, Leora felt truly seen, not for her size or rank, but for her spirit. The aftermath of the cosmic storm left the Interstellar Council Hall quiet, almost reverent. Delegates, alien nobles, and humans alike gathered in the central chamber to assess the damage, exchange reports, and debrief on the extraordinary events of the day. Princess Leora stood near the edge, her small frame still noticeable against the massive hall, but there was something different about her now. Her posture was straight, her eyes calm and clear, and her presence radiated a quiet confidence that could not be ignored. Captain Elias Ward stood at her side, his gaze steady and proud. He had watched her throughout the crisis, seen her courage, her intelligence, and her leadership. Now, as the council convened again, he knew the small princess had proven more than anyone could have imagined. King Orvin, Leora's father, observed from the back of the hall. He felt a mixture of astonishment and pride. For years he had underestimated his youngest daughter, believing her too small, too quiet, and too fragile to make any real difference. But now, after witnessing her actions in the storm, he realized the truth. Her heart and courage were unmatched. The alien nobles were less easy to impress. Some whispered angrily to one another, clearly uncomfortable with the shift in perception. "How could she?" one murmured. "She is small, untrained." But others, seeing the results of her actions, could not deny her value. Delegates who had once dismissed her nodded respectfully, acknowledging her role in stabilizing the station and saving countless lives. Even the most haughty nobles found themselves bowing slightly, an unspoken acknowledgement of her abilities. Elias addressed the council. "The storm tested all of us. Many feared, many faltered, but Princess Leora acted with calm, clarity, and courage. She led people to safety, stabilized critical systems, and ensured the survival of everyone here. That is the mark of true leadership." The hall fell silent, the weight of his words settling in. Leora felt a surge of quiet pride. She remembered the alien nobles who had mocked her, ignored her, and whispered behind her back. Now, those same people could see what she had accomplished, not because of her size or status, but because of her spirit. A delegation leader approached her cautiously. "Princess Leora," he said, his voice respectful, "you have shown remarkable courage. Your leadership saved lives and ensured stability. We underestimated you, and we apologize." Leora's cheeks flushed, but she held her head high. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice calm and steady. "I only did what I could to help. That is all anyone can do." Throughout the hall, murmurs of approval and admiration spread. Delegates who had previously scoffed now shared stories of her calmness and bravery. Alien nobles, once blinded by pride, began to understand that true strength was measured differently than they had believed. King Orvin stepped forward, approaching his daughter. He looked at her with a new understanding. "Leora," he said, his voice quiet but full of emotion, "I see now that I misjudged you. You have shown wisdom, courage, and heart beyond what I could have imagined. You are extraordinary." Leora's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. "Thank you, Father," she whispered. "I only did what I thought was right." Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You have proven that worth is not measured by appearances, size, or rank. Humans value heart, courage, and action. That is why I chose you. And today, you have shown why that choice was right." The small princess, once ignored and underestimated, now stood in the center of recognition. Her courage had earned respect, her wisdom had earned admiration, and her heart had earned trust. She realized that being chosen by a human had not just given her a chance, it had revealed her true self. In the days that followed, the council members discussed her actions in detail. Reports praised her calm leadership, quick thinking, and unwavering courage. Delegates and nobles alike began to treat her differently, no longer seeing her as small or insignificant, but as a capable and respected figure. Leora noticed the change, not with pride or arrogance, but with quiet satisfaction. She had earned her place through action, not status. Even the alien nobles who had mocked her began to approach her cautiously. Some offered greetings, some shared advice, and a few even sought her guidance for handling difficult situations. It was a small but meaningful shift, a recognition that she was someone who could influence and lead, regardless of size or appearance. Leora's bond with Elias deepened as well. Together they worked on coordinating missions, learning from each other and guiding the crew. He had seen her potential from the beginning, and now the galaxy could see it too. One evening, as the ship traveled through a quiet sector of space, Leora and Elias stood on the observation deck looking at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "You have grown so much," Elias said, his voice filled with admiration. "From the small, overlooked princess to the leader who saved the council station, you have shown courage and wisdom beyond your years." Leora smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I never thought I could do these things," she admitted. "But you believed in me. That made all the difference." Elias nodded. "Humans see worth differently. We value heart, courage, and determination. I knew you had all three, even when others could not see it." Leora's eyes shone. She understood now that being chosen by a human had not just changed her life. It had given her the confidence to discover her true potential. She had learned that courage and heart were more important than appearances or approval. As the stars twinkled outside, Leora reflected on her journey. She had been ignored, dismissed, and underestimated for most of her life. She had faced mockery, doubts, and fear. Yet she had survived, grown, and proven her worth. And now, with humans by her side, she felt ready to face any challenge the universe could present. The council, once a place of judgment and dismissal, had become a stage where her courage shone. Delegates and nobles would remember her actions, not her size. The small princess, once invisible, had become a symbol of strength, determination, and heart. Elias looked at her with pride. "The universe is vast and full of challenges," he said. "But you have already faced your first great test. You have shown what it means to lead, to act with courage, and to inspire others. You are ready for whatever comes next." Leora felt a sense of purpose settle within her. She was no longer the small, ignored princess. She was a leader capable of bravery, wisdom, and compassion. She had proven that human choice was not foolish. It was insight. Humans saw what others could not, her true strength. In the weeks that followed, Leora continued to grow. She trained, learned, and participated in missions alongside the humans. Each success strengthened her confidence, and each challenge honed her courage. Delegates and nobles now approached her with respect, not because of her title, but because of her actions. Leora realized something remarkable. Being chosen by a human had not just given her opportunity, it had revealed her potential. She had discovered that her value was not defined by alien judgment, but by her own courage, wisdom, and heart. The once ignored princess now stood proudly, a bridge between humans and aliens, a symbol of hope and courage. She had been underestimated, dismissed, and overlooked, yet she had risen above expectations. She had proven that even the smallest, quietest individual could make a difference in the universe. One evening, as the ship sailed past a cluster of distant stars, Leora stood beside Elias. "Thank you," she said softly, "for seeing me when no one else did." Elias smiled. "You were always worth seeing. I only helped you realize it." Leora nodded, feeling a sense of peace and determination. She had faced fear, doubt, and challenges. She had acted with courage and heart, and now she knew that the universe held endless possibilities for her. A small princess, chosen by a human, who had proven that true strength comes from within. The stars stretched endlessly before them, shining with the promise of adventure, growth, and discovery. Leora felt ready for whatever lay ahead. She was no longer small. She was no longer ignored. She was seen, respected, and capable of greatness. And as the ship glided forward through the vastness of space, Leora knew one truth above all. Being, chosen by a human, had changed her life, revealed her true self, and shown the galaxy that even the smallest princess could shine brighter than anyone had imagined. The journey was far from over, but Princess Leora was ready. The human's choice had proven true. And in that truth she found her courage, her purpose, and her place among the stars.